Y'all, I'm back today with just kind of letting y'all watch me do a not necessarily a tutorial because I've already done it, but I'm just going to decorate one of my little dress form wall hangings that I previously made. It is I'll put a description down below with the links to it of the actual tutorial that I did to make it. I had already decorated one and I've got it mailed off, and now I wanted to do this other one that I made. The dimensions of how to cut it and everything are also on a link that's going to be down below, and so you'll be able to get all the measurements and everything of how to make your own. Basically, it's a piece of felt, cut flat, a piece of muslin, and that would be a pile of lace falling, sorry, and some darts that I have glued, and then we've stuffed it. At this point, I have pulled out some pieces to start with. I have a pile of stuff to work with, and I've done some pre-gluing on some pieces of wedding applique so that I don't have to stop and do that, and that's tedious work. But anyway, I thought I'd start at this point. With this little dress form thing that I made, I'm realizing I need a little bit more stuffing in here. I want to make this a little sturdier. It's a little too loose. So because I've already glued everything together, let me show you my little trick. On the back of the felt, this is the back of the piece, all I'm going to do is right in here where I want to add some stuffing, and this does not hurt her, so I'm going to just poke some very sharp scissors into this felt, and I'm going to make a cut just a few inches, not even 2 inches, maybe 1.5 inches there. And then I'm going to come back with some of this polyfill stuff, and I'm going to give this right where I'm wanting it a little more sturdiness. And then I'm going to work it with my finger, hopefully, and get that in here where I'm wanting it to be a little fuller and firmer. And as I do it, I'll be able to manipulate it into the spot that I really want it. And because the back is not going to be left plain, it will be covered up, then this little hole that I've made is not going to show or matter in any way. So let's see how I'm doing here. I'm going to poke a little bit of that a little further down around that waist area, and then I want to even it out. So I've got my fingers in the back here trying to prod this polyfill into the places that I think it's going to need it. And even on my images that I do for my books and stuff, sometimes I overfill, and I'll do the same thing. If I think it's too full for the page, before I put that image down on a page, I will open it up in the back, and I will pull some of that out sometimes. And sometimes if I feel like it needs to be more, I will add. So this is just my way of making things right, even though I've already closed up all of my my edges. So I think that might give me what I'm looking for, a little more sturdiness in here, and I needed a little more polyfill in the bust area on this one as well. I may even go for a little bit more, y'all. Watch me not have any close by. No, I didn't. That might be enough. Rolling around in my chair. This is the stuff I think that you'd like to pillows and stuffed animals with, and I also have some for quilting, so if it looks different from what I had previously put in there, it could very well be. It's from different sources, so who knows. Okay, now I want that to shape less in the chest upper chest and more in the bust area. So that she looks more I think that probably is exactly what I was looking for. The reason I decided to change that, I had left it rather flat, was because when I come along and I was trying to figure out what to do for the top of the dress when I was going to do this part, as I did it I realized that it didn't have much to hold it up, and I needed enough to make it look like it belonged, you know what I mean? So I think that'll work. Basically, I'm using pieces of hem off of a wedding dress that I've cut. I've glued all of the pieces down as well as some on the back so that it's pretty firm. It's not going to go anywhere. I don't want sequins and pearls popping off. So each of the pieces of wedding applique that I use, I do go over with little dots of glue and underneath the pearls. And then on the back, I follow along the lines of the thread. And before it's all glued down, I make sure that the threads are also, especially on the ends, but all through the piece, I will put dots of glue on the back because I do not want pearls popping off and stuff. Okay, so now that I've got that done, I'm not going to worry about that in the back. I'm going to be covering that up with a piece of muslin or something, and it'll close, and you won't notice it. If it pooches out or something like that, I'll just run a little bit of glue over that and even it out before I finish it off. But that's not going to be for a little while yet. Still got a lot of decorating to do. The first thing I'm going to do though, and I'm going to do this kind of in layers, I'm going to start at the very top. The very top is where the neckline is going to be, and I've chosen to use this little piece of netted lace. It's a little after piece. I've used the piece around it on the previous one of these that I made, and this one I wanted it to be a natural tone, just like this muslin. This is the unbleached muslin, by the way. So I just wanted it just in this upper area. I don't need to cover the whole entire thing because it's going to be covered up. I'm not going to waste my materials. But basically, I'm just going to be doing the shoulders and the arms, and then this upper chest area on it. And then I'm just going to glue it down. And I'm going to do it so that the edges where I'm going to be putting some edge gimp or something like that, I'm going to just tack it down right around here, and that way when I come back and put the final decorations on, whatever you want to call it, it will not show the glue. And since I'm working with netting, I can't push that down with my fingertips because I will get burned. So I do definitely need to use something to push that into the glue. And then as I get that done all the way around, I'll be able to take this piece of netting to the back and adhere it to the back as well. And this is just to give this top part of the dress form a covering. I didn't want it to be bare muslin on that. I wanted it to have a little bit more texture on it. A number of y'all have been showing your videos on how y'all are putting things together and making things, and I have to tell you how much I enjoy watching your YouTube videos and just seeing you work. I get a lot of enjoyment out of watching y'all, listening to you chat and share your different ideas and stuff. I do enjoy that quite a bit. some of you get a little rushed, and I realized myself that I'm doing the same thing. But I noticed it on your videos, and I think on mine too. I'm thinking y'all just don't want to see this part. And so I'm trying to rush through showing you something when I really enjoy y'all doing it, but I don't enjoy the rush part of the process. So I'm going to ask y'all to slow down a little. That's for my benefit, because I really like to see what y'all do. And I want to slow down a little bit too and do it right, because I am prone to making silly boo-boos, and I don't like that. Sounds like a TV show. Silly boo-boo. And no, I never watched that weird show, whatever that was. Honey Boo Boo or something. That was just stupid. Anyway, I'll probably get in trouble for saying that. Anyway, I don't care. Alright, I'm too old to care what people think about me. I've learned, thankfully, I'm 52 now, so I've learned I don't care what people think anymore. I used to care. Oh my goodness, it was horrible. I used to really care what people thought of me. I care that y'all like what I'm doing, but I have my own life to live, and I know people aren't going to like what I say or do sometimes, and that's fine, but it's my channel, and if you don't like it, you can mute me or turn me off. Doesn't bother me. I hope you all think the same thing about yourself, that you're mature enough to make your own decisions on stuff and don't care about what the other people say and do about it. I guess that it really comes with some of the things and comments that I've received that I've deleted. I'm not going to tell you otherwise. I just deleted it. If I find out that somebody has written to me who has caused drama, and you know who you are, I have deleted you. So I'm not going to go there. Just not going to go there. Don't have time for it, and certainly it's not worth my time. I hope y'all all understand that. We enjoy our crafting too much to waste time on the naysayers. So there's too many of y'all doing wonderful things that there's no negativity allowed on this channel. How do I say it that way? So I'm going to cut off this excess now. Oh, and that's enough said on the whole subject. I'm done. Well, I'll say it that one time and hopefully never have to address that again. Now, after I cut off all this excess, again, I'm not going to worry about what the back looks like. I'm going to be putting a whole piece on top of the back and covering it all up, and it'll all look very nice. So we're not going to worry about that. But I am going to just tack a little bit more down here and keep it out of the way. And that'll probably be plenty to do that. Okay, so there's the top piece. We've got it ready to go. And excuse my mess. I promised myself I would clean up after my last project, and I did not. And I should have, because this looks, it's just too much stuff. Y'all get into the TMI mode. Some of y'all are so organized. Your desks are always clear, May. And I can't do that. I constantly use some of the same stuff over and over, and so I just leave a lot of it out, and so that's why it looks the way it does. Okay, now I'm going to set this aside for a minute, and I'm going to show you my next step. And it looks like a mess, but it's not. There is a method to my madness. What I've done is, ahead of time, before I started the video, I got some pieces out that I'm going to use for the bottom of the dress form, and I'm going to make a very long skirt, basically, on the dress form, a skirt for it. But it's going to be in layers. And I really enjoyed the previous one I made. I'm going to do this one very similarly, using a whole lot of the same pieces, because I thought it turned out really nice. I'm going to start at the bottom though, and this is the method to my madness. This is another piece of the wedding hem that I was showing you that I wanted to use at the top. Of course, this one is the hem piece. Using Michelle Pipeling's method of gathering with glue, this piece right here at the top, I laid a bead of glue on my glue mat and gathered by pushing into that bead of glue the top of my fabric. And I'll show you on another piece. This one I already did. And my idea is to start on the dress form at the very, very bottom, because I need all this length. I'm going to glue that down here and let that make the bottom and the back layer of the skirt area. So very simply, that's what I'm going to do next is to just glue this down. None of the bottom of this dress form part is going to be seen. And so I don't care how messy, gluey it gets. I need this to be on here nice and firm. And when you, I don't know if y'all have tried this method before of gathering with glue. I have, I use it a lot now that she showed it. Thank you, Michelle, for showing that idea to us, because it is taking what I have on hand. For example, this little bobbin lace trim. It's a straight trim, but if I gather it, I can double my usage of it. And then I can use a gathered trim around pages and stuff. And so this multiplies my use factor. And then I'm easily able to do something like this with a piece of wedding dress hem, as well as some other pieces. So that's done. That whole bottom piece is done. I did, when I was working on this piece of hem, I folded over and glued the edges on both sides so they would not be raw. And I did it twice just to give it a clean edge. Okay, so there's the first layer. The second layer I wanted to put on here is this piece of netting. I used it in the other dress form wall hanging I made as well, and I loved it so much because it's an open net. It's a, I'll call it an antique. I do believe it's probably 100 years old. But the reason I really love it, and again, I'm sorry about all my stuff. I'm going to probably lose my glasses in here. I do that a lot. Throw that out of the way. But the reason I really love this particular piece of netting is because when I put it over this wedding hem with all those AB sequins in it, the Aurora Borealis sequins and pearls, you can still see the glint of all of that through this piece of lace. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with this piece when I gathered it, and I'm going to gather this piece as well. And to make it easy, I'm just going to lay it down where I'm going to want it to be, and then I'm going to take my scissors after I get all the extra out of the way here. And I don't want to waste any of it. I can use more elsewhere. So probably just right along in here, I'm going to take my scissors now, and I'm just going to chop it off without cutting the dress form. I'm not trying to be perfect, just close, because it's funner that way. And that's where I'm going to gather all of this. So I'm going to gather it up, and do the process, and then I'm going to show it to you. I've noticed that as I was working with some of the pieces like this, for example, it is real easy for me to lay a piece down on here and start to gather it with the glue underneath it, and then I pick it up when it's dry, ready to use, and I go to put it on my piece and realize, oh, I should have glued the other side. So keep that in mind. I'm going to glue the bottom side because I'm going to glue the bottom side onto the dress form piece. So I want glue to glue. I don't want glue on the top, I want it on the bottom. I hope that made sense. As I was doing the other piece of it, I was thinking, did I do it right? Yes, I do want that side up, this side down. So anyway, very simply, a bead of glue, and just push it using that bead of glue that's on your mat down here. I like to mush it down in there really good to make sure that all the little fibers of your material, lace, whatever you're using, get on there and in there, and that the glue adheres really well. This I don't think is going to go anywhere for quite some time, so it has been one of the best tips and tricks I've ever seen, and I use it all the time. I don't think there's a single piece I've worked with lately that I don't use it on somewhere in the project. So it's very worth keeping in your mind. I'm rolling that edge down so that as it gets on the piece, it will also have a little bit of a encouragement to roll under. I'm going to pick it up now and scoot it over so I can finish it. Probably run out of glue right about here. Get that glue line right back on there. And hopefully the recording, I'm going to have to go look. I don't know what my timing is, and my screen is to the back, so we're 22 minutes in. I'll probably need to find a stopping point here in a second. And then I'll upload the first one, and then we'll continue with another one. Okay. I'm going to glue this onto the piece. Not worried about what this section looks like. I'm worried about what this part looks like. And so when I put this on, I want to make sure that my hem down here is going to be right where I want it. I don't want it to cover a whole lot of this bottom, so I can move it up or down or wherever I want it. I'm going to put it right about there, I think. And just gently tack it on there. And there goes my glue. These projects use a lot of glue, and I've shown y'all once before my big box of glue. I'll put a link down there to my affiliate on Amazon if anybody's interested to see the where I buy my glue. And I use the AdTech cheap glue gun and 4-inch glue sticks. And there is the second layer of the bottom. This next part should go pretty quick because I'll have one or two more pieces to do as I go up here on the waist, toward the waist. Finish off the bottom part, and then we'll work on the top part next, okay? I'll be back in just a few minutes.